Jackie. Welcome.
Hi, and hi, everybody. I can't wait to go back and read the comments.
Yes, I have them up. You don't worry about it. You go back and read them. Hey, Michelle. Um, just give us like a quick spiel. Like, who are you? What do you do? Kind of thing. And then I will bombard you with questions after that.
Amazing. Yeah. So I am Jackie Murphy, and I am a business coach for yoga and Pilates businesses. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a mom to two boys who are 4 and 2. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
I feel like my intention is always to like bring a different spin to each season. And I feel like I know for sure, even with like what we've already recorded, that this brings a totally different spin than we've ever had before. So I won't tell y'all all of what that is. But I think one of the things that I really see in you, Jackie, well, for context, Jackie already has a very successful business. She's been doing this for what, 5 years?
Mhm.
5 years. Makes well over 500,000 a year in her business. And it's hard as shit to put yourself out there when you're already at that place.
Mm.
I think there's some level of vulnerability that it takes when you're beginning, but I think when you've been in it for a while and you're like, hey, here's all my stuff. It's totally different because you have team, you have clients, you have people watching you, you have audience, all of that kind of stuff. So I would love to just like start there for a second. If you
Mhm.
can, like what made you go, yeah, all that's there, but that's worth it enough to do this? Because I think it just is a bigger jump. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Like it definitely went through my head like, well, my assistant is going to listen and my clients are going to listen and like these people who have a certain image of me as leader in the business are going to see me in a different way. And I think there was an element of like, okay, well, what would that be like and what will happen? And at the same time, I I have always found in any business that I've been in that anytime I can be vulnerable, that I can be transparent, that I can be really raw and honest with people, it usually leads to a deeper connection and a stronger relationship with the team, with whoever is listening.
Yep.
So if something were to go awry, like they don't like something I said, or like we face some problem on the podcast, I think one, it would probably be a conversation that would have already needed to happen and like we
Yeah.
would get it out. And two, I don't think that will happen. I only think it'll deepen relationships. But I saw you put out the post of like new season, apply. And I don't know if I was the first, but I was like,
You were
here's my
very close.
application.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I want to be here right now because I have listened to season after season and kind of like you're saying, like every season is different. And I really, there was this road trip. I'll have this memory in my head forever. I was going across a bridge. I was listening to Robin season. And like I genuinely thought like you guys were in the car with me. And we're just all coaching on our businesses and like life and being a mom.
Like masterminding together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know who I am, but I'm like, besties with the two of you. And it is so transformative to listen to coaching that I really wanted to, one, step out and get coached, but also to be able to give that back to your listeners and any of my people who come over and listen.
I love that. I think I have like multiple things I want to say. So hold on, let me make a note. Um um I think one thing that you said that feels really important is how like if anything came out that you like whatever like caused a thing, it would have been something that needed to happen anyway. And I just applaud you for that so much. You guys are probably so sick of me saying this. I'm sure I do a clipping on the podcast about this season anyway. I say this all the fucking time. But that AA quote of your secrets keep you sick, I think
Mhm.
is like one of the most guiding like principles that I use in my business and see in coaching as like the truest truth of like if there are things you feel like you cannot tell your team, you cannot share with your clients, you cannot be real about whatever, those things are keeping you from growing 100
Mhm.
times out of 100 times. It doesn't mean you always have to in the moment or right then or in this specific way, but like when you feel like you have reasons that you have things to hide, is when it gets hard to show up and be seen and supported and all of that. So I just love that you said that because I think that's stretchy as shit. But I think it is so helpful because it's so true. Like when you're like, it's all out there, there's nothing like I'm worried about someone finding out or hearing or this or that. Like your freedom, your liberation is like so next level in business, right?
Oh, it's so, so true. And
It's easy, but
yeah, it's not. I was actually thinking about it this weekend because I ran into someone who had purchased my course at Pilates, and she was like, "You're Jackie Murphy," and I'm like, "I am."
oh, how
Um,
weird. I love
isn't
that.
that so funny? And it's happened
Yes.
once before in a yoga class, and I
Mhm.
was thinking about that. I'm like, how funny is it that I try and live so true to who I am online, in my
Right.
marketing, in my sales pages, in my ads, that the people who see me in person are literally seeing me doing the thing that I'm talking about online. Like it just feels really aligned. And I think this is kind of the stretchy place I'm at right now is like well, all of last year for like a year and 6 months, that was not the case. Like if
Yeah.
I had seen a person in real life who has purchased my course or whatever, I would have shrunk and I would have been like, oh shoot, how do I look? Can they tell I've been crying? Can they tell X, Y, and Z? And I would have been really scared. And so it's another reason I wanted to do the podcast. I think maybe subconsciously, I don't even intentionally remember being like, this is a good way to rip the band-aid off. But we have struggled with addiction in my family, my husband. And it has been just a mountain to climb and navigate. And for a long time, I really did feel a lot of not even, it doesn't make sense, but a lot of shame for just like
Yeah.
having to do this while also running this business. And I hid it from clients for a while. I mean, I hid it from my audience for until like five
A
weeks
long
ago.
time. Yeah. Till about 5 sessions ago. Yeah. Well, there's so much to say there. One is like, I just love your bravery. Everyone is saying how excited they are to listen and how real it already sounds. So thank you guys for that. But I think like there was obviously a piece of you that was being called to like rip that band-aid off and share that, or you obviously would have like saw the podcast opening and ran the other way kind of thing.
Mhm.
But um I also think there's this element in our space where it's almost like we expect the people we're learning from to be perfect. I
Yeah.
personally try to work against that in my content a lot because I'm like, if you think I'm going to be perfect, you'll be so disappointed when you find out I'm a real person. So like I would like to make it really fucking clear right away that that's the
Mhm.
case. Um, but I do think there is this element of like, if I'm learning from you, you should just have it all together and you should be perfect and you should have every area of your life on lock. And then your spouse does something that like you didn't even have control over or awareness.
Mhm.
And that can feel like so like, oh my God, now this image is shattered or something. And I think it's just such bullshit. Although like I'm saying bullshit in the grander space, not like you feeling that way is bullshit, but it's
Mhm.
like bullshit because it's like what we really kind of keep doing to ourselves in this space as women is saying like don't do the like corporate thing in the way everyone tells you to, but still try to be as perfect as possible and try to look
Mhm.
perfect and try to do it the way everyone wants you to. And it's like the same shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's such a interesting way to put it because I think I did that accidentally, maybe out of like a survival instinct of like there needed to be a wall. I needed to get some stability back in my life, but I just stopped being me.
Yeah.
And I felt so scared to show anything less than like I know what I'm doing and I have all the answers and you should hire me. And like it's like two things can be true. Like I know what I'm doing and I do have answers for your business. And at the same time, my personal life was quite literally a tornado. Like it
Yeah.
was a mess. And I couldn't hold both. I didn't know how to hold both. And you've helped me like just like take down the wall. It's been
Yeah.
freeing.
You also, I mean, I will take that and thank you. You've also given yourself the time. And I think that's really valuable too, right? Like you weren't like, okay, this happened 2 weeks ago and now I'm supposed to like bounce back and wrap it in a bow and share it and like all that bullshit, right? Like I think you really gave yourself like the time you needed for yourself and your family. So like now was the
Mm,
right time, right? But like
mhm.
I think that's true. Like a lot of people like Nikki, Michelle, and stuff are saying like the perfectionist stuff is so real in our space. Um, and I think like it's not only so real in the sense that it's like that's the marketing of it, but I think that like so often in our space, like we are really craving this idea that if we figure out certain tools or get to a certain level, nothing is going to happen to us. We're untouchable. The business always grows, our personal life. I think like there is this deep desire that we all have that we're chasing and that a lot of marketing preys on instead of being like, yeah, you could make the peak in your business. Like I think you are like in many ways, like in terms of like being well known and being like seen in this like leadership role, like you are peak for that in your space. And it doesn't make you untouchable. It doesn't mean life can't happen. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you would never like have a challenge in business or whatever. And I just think like it's really hard for people to hold both of those. And I think we would prefer that not to be true, right? Like
Mhm.
our preference would be like, oh no, once you reach that, like nothing can touch you. And
Yeah.
I will say, I'm curious for you to speak to this too. On the other front of that, it kind of is true in a sense where like you were able to ride out a year and a half of really, really challenging times. You were
Yeah.
able to pull back considerably and still hit your income goals. I mean, that like there's both and there, but it's just like hard for us all to hold the nuance, right?
Mm. Yeah. And like even thinking back to the last year and a half, uh, my team was the reason I was able to do that. Like I could not have made it through without them kind of dragging me there. And I just like really focused on like, can I deliver to my clients? Because I can't post a reel today and I can't show up on stories because I have no energy. And so what I can do and what felt like a break was being with my clients because it
Yeah.
for an hour I'd be able to think about something else. And so I just really, really poured into that. And I think it just goes back to like delivering to your clients well is always a good strategy for growth. It wasn't my intentional strategy. It's not what I would have told you I was going to focus on at the beginning of the year, but it worked still. And in a hard time, it worked. And they people are just so loving and so kind. Like I did eventually tell them because they needed to know what was going on. And everyone was so generous, like so open. And I think it kind of circles back to like the only people who like want you to be perfect are like in your head.
Yes, 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 yes. It's like the broader industry narrative. It's not like
Yeah.
a client sitting in front of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Michelle said, love that your clients felt like a break. I resonate with that so
Mhm.
much too. Like, um, I remember when I was going through everything with like, um, when my dad passed and he was really sick and all of that, like, I remember my team being like, hey, do you just want to like not come back from maternity leave right now? And I was like, no, I need to. Like, I need a few
Mhm.
client sessions a week where like my brain is on something other than me, where my brain isn't like spinning about like what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow morning or the next 2 weeks, like to be able to like be so of service for someone else and like turn that off, I think is like such an amazing gift. But again, like there's this
Mhm.
industry narrative of like, you should only be showing up for clients if you're perfect or if you're in this perfect place and or like you should have a business that allows you to take off. And again, I think it's like the middle ground is you can have a business where you could step back but you don't fucking want to, and like isn't that like the actual best scenario?
Yeah. And like just being able to put it on paper and be like, what are all my options? List them all. This is what I did. And this is what I feel like you and I just did
Yeah.
again of like, I have the freedom to change this to make it work for me at any moment in time, like what works right now. And I think, in business and growing your business, and I think I thought I was going to get to this point where it'd be like smooth sailing. This is the business, and like this is the course, and it just sells. And that is kind of happening. And at the same time, it's constantly evolving of like, well, actually, what is the business like now? And what do I need now? And what do my clients need now? And how has the industry shifted? And like, it's a never ending, I refer to it as a practice because I'm a little yogi. Like, it's a never
Yeah.
ending practice. You just show up and keep doing it.
I think that is so perfect. And it's like the best part and the most frustrating part of it too, right? Um, yeah, I feel like, thinking about your situation, like in 4 years, you've had two babies, basically built this business from scratch, had addiction in your family. I mean, like, of
Yeah.
course it's fucking changing. Of course it's evolving. Of course your needs are changing. Like, it would be completely insane to think that it wouldn't. But again, I do think we do live in this kind of like messaging bubble that says if you were doing it right, that wouldn't be how it is. Instead of being like, the best business is one that adapts with you, that you can
Yeah.
change, that you can mold, that you can figure out like when you want to hit the gas and when you want to hit the brake or whatever. It's not like building such a machine that like it lives outside of your life or apart from your life. Like that's when it gets so hard, right?
Mhm. Totally. Yeah. And like, I mean, I feel like right now I'm just like pouring my personality back into my business. And we've doing a lot of, talk on that. And I think I wanted it to be the machine. I thought it should be the machine. And I'm realizing like, okay, systems and processes and leadership skills is great. And there's still like you and your personality and like bring that back into the business. And it feels so much more fun. It just feels so much more alive. I also feel so much more energized too.
Emma said it's such a gift when you're in deep alignment and work gets to feel like a reprieve. I think that's so true. And I think that's like
Mhm.
that sentence sort of sums up how you've been feeling, I think, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
this is the work you're meant to be doing. And so work is actually feeling like the easier reprieve. It's just more like adjusting work around all the other stuff you're dealing
Yeah.
with, right? Mhm.
Yeah. And Lacey, like work is the reprieve. I feel so aligned. And then that alignment is helping me heal this addiction in my family because we have resources to pay for therapy and do intensives and send my husband where he needs to go. And there's just so many moments I've come back to like, thank God I didn't just step back and give up and like give up that resource because it's helping every single aspect of my life. Like if I'm making money to heal what's going on in my family to pass a better family down for my kids. Like, okay, well, I'll show up and record a reel.
Yes. Oh my God. That like makes me emotional. It's so true though. Like where it's like not, it's not like more money makes you happier, but it definitely solves some fucking problems in your life,
Mhm.
right? And if you're like, okay, whatever, like I used to be like, I will never dance on a reel ever. I don't know if I actually ever have. Maybe I need to rip the band-aid and do it. Oh, you know what? I had one made for if the election went differently. But anyway,
Oh,
here. But anyway, my point is, I feel exactly the opposite right now. Like
yeah,
based on what you're saying, I'm like, if that meant resources for my son and showing up in a way that like supported my family or whatever, you bet your ass I'll dance on a reel, right?
right?
Yes.
It's just
Yeah.
a little like I've been humbled by what's been possible over the last year and a half.
Yeah. I love that. Hey, Liz. Hey, Melissa. Everybody's joining us. Hey, Lisa. Lindsay, welcome back to the US. I'm so happy you're here. Um, Okay, so here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. So I feel like something that I've been seeing in our space, I told you this too, Jackie, but something that I've been seeing in our space for definitely the last year is just how much things have shifted and kind of how much what we were just talking about isn't true. Like even if you've had whatever, I mean, I've been doing this thing nearly 10 years at this point, and it's like I had to rework how I was doing most things as it related to marketing and content. I mean, obviously, we saw these like baseline things, like I still showed up and made content and did a live stream, but in terms of like angle and dynamic and
Mm.
all of that, and I think everyone that's playing this game has had to make that shift. And so, one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the podcast is because I know that's happening. I am hearing that all day long with my clients. I'm hearing that all day long with my peers and in communities that I'm in of like, damn, like we are fixing a lot. We are changing a lot. We are reworking things. Consumer behavior has changed, blah, blah. And I feel like the people that are much further along in business aren't always as, open about that for some good and some not so good reasons. But I feel like having you on to me is like such a beautiful example of being like, you can be, again, pinnacle of success. You're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've made millions in your business. You are like so well recognized as being this expert in your field. And like, you are not above having to change with consumer behavior changing, of having to rework your marketing, of having to be like, oh, I just came up from under a rock and shit looks different, right?
Yes.
So anyway, talk to us about that a little bit because that is like one of the, I mean,
Uh,
I was just when I saw your application, I was just like, this is the story we need to tell. Like nobody's talking
yeah.
about it. Mm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started this business like 2020 was like the year I went really full time into it from the studio. And Instagram marketing at that time was like pretty, I'm not gonna say easy, but like, here are
Oh,
four
you
steps
can
to
say it, girl.
market.
It was easier.
It was just like, yeah, it was easier. It was more formulaic. You could just put something out and people would interact with it, engage with it. And fast forward, like it truly feels like I'm coming out of a closet being like, wait a second, this is not the same environment anymore. What's changed?
Oh, I left it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, like, reaching out to you, I was like, I want to grow. Like, I have paid ads working. That's awesome. I want to go back and focus on my organic reach again because that has dropped because I dropped off. And I thought, Lacey's going to tell me that I need to hire a team and get some video editors and like get this whole big production going. And in reality, it's like the exact opposite. It's like, oh, actually, you just need to get back in the game and really what if I were to like summarize it, what feels different now for me marketing is it feels like it's just like try it. Like play with it, be in collaboration, be in connection. Like if I can get a conversation going in my comment section, I've done it well that day.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wait, I want to look something up. Keep saying
yeah,
that. I want to share something, but keep going on that because this is so aligned to that.
what I
Mm.
think the other thing that has really shifted, and you'll see this, people on Instagram will tell you like here are the hot hooks to use. But like when I first started, it was like never say I, only say you, talk about
Yeah.
them. And
That was
now,
like the peak advice is to be like,
yeah.
stop saying I. They don't want to hear about you. Mm.
Yeah. And now it's the opposite. They want to know that you have an authentic story with specific detailed experiences that they can relate to. And so I'm just like shifting my brain of like how I typically write copy. I'm putting me, literally I back into it.
Yes. Do you guys know who Shannon McKinstry is? Let me
Yeah.
know in the comments if you do too. Okay, I think
Yeah.
she's so brilliant. And she posted this thing the other day that I just pulled up to read because I was like, oh my God, she just summarized it perfectly. And she said, Instagram hack. If you want to grow your business account, start treating it more like a personal account. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, that is like the thing that like we're all having to shift to and that some of us are like going kicking and screaming with a little bit. Like I know I was one of those that was kind of like, oh no, no, no. I mean, that's how I've always run my business. I'm like, I make it about you guys, I make it about my audience, I make it about my clients. So having to step into that is totally different, but also I'm kind of enjoying it. Like my word of the year is main character energy. So
Mm,
I'm trying to step into that more. And so it's like kind of forcing that, but like it is different. Like that would have not been the advice 4 years ago
mm-mm.
at all.
No, it would have been the opposite. You need to
Yeah.
treat it like a professional business account.
Yes, if you want Instagram hack, if you want da da da, treat
Yeah.
it like a professional account or something like that, right? Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, Sarah said so true. Not always easy. Exactly. Um,
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's like really cool to like get to have you like walking through that with everybody because there's nobody that's not going through this. And I cannot say this enough. I went to this like networking thing for like 7 to 8 figure business owners recently. And it's like this was the conversation. This was like that
Mm,
conversation. Like nobody's above that. Nobody's like not having to do that. It's like they're like, how are we doing this?
mhm.
Like that's it. So I just think it's so helpful to be like, y'all, we're all doing this. Nobody has a get out of jail free card on this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was scrolling last night and watching not my feed, but the For You like suggested page on Instagram. And it's getting more like TikTok. People are like talking to their cameras and I'm so here for it. I love it. And it's scary because it's like,
I
oh, I
know.
have to be more of myself online. And I've always had the professional box to stay in. And now it's like, well, let's just see. I just put up a reel where I'm cussing and I'm like, oh, a cuss word.
Yes. It's so funny because as a consumer, I don't know, I'm so curious if you guys feel this way too. Let me know in the comments. I love TikTok as a consumer. Like if you're like you could delete Instagram or TikTok, well, I suppose I would have to delete TikTok because my business lives on Instagram, but like from just a consumer standpoint, TikTok has me every time. Like
Yeah.
every time. So it's like there's something about that that's obviously compelling, and we're like even translating some of that over, but it's like the realness is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
And
not
this,
the easiest. Yeah, Haley said it's challenging all my introvert edges. I mean, 100%. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. I'm with her.
Yeah. Michelle says TikTok is superior as a consumer, right? So like we all have to be paying attention to this. Yes, Nikki said TikTok knows me better than I know myself. Same.
Hmm.
Sometimes it'll show me something and I'm like, I don't want this. And then I watch it and I'm like, how did you know? Like, this is amazing. It's so true. I mean, obviously, there's like a lot with the algorithm there, but I do think there's like a different way that people are showing up there that we're all really resonating with. And if we're smart business owners, we're starting to evolve with that. We're seeing that in advance. It's like how when we all kind of were like, Facebook feels a little bit boring now, we're kind of on Instagram. And I feel like that's
Hmm.
starting to shift too. And I'm not saying that means we have to be on TikTok, but I am saying it means like there's something we're craving there
Yeah.
different, right? Mm.
Yes, yes, yeah. Did you follow Duolingo on TikTok where they have like the
No.
bird? Oh my
Do I
God,
need
Lisa, you have to
to?
look into this. They
Okay.
created this whole life for this bird and then they killed him off. It's like this thing, but even I'm saying that because like Duolingo, this corporation
Right.
is
Mm.
creating a character to tell a story about so people interact with it. Like you do have to pay attention to that and say like what story am I telling? What character do I have?
Yes, even like you know the drink Poppy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they have like one girl that they've like hired and she's like their person and they're like humanizing their business. I think even if you see how big accounts are like commenting and stuff, they're commenting as
Hmm.
a person, they're what like the all signs point in a certain direction and it's just like how fast can we adjust to that, pivot to that, and how not pissed about it can we be, because I think that's it.
Yeah.
Easy to be frustrated, it's easy to be like, this is so annoying, I hate that I have to do this. I definitely had a moment of that for sure in my business where I'm like,
Mm.
and now that I'm doing it I'm like, wait, actually this feels 10 times better. It just is more work, it does take a different level of showing up. But then in other ways, it's a lot easier because if you're just
Hmm.
telling your own story and just sharing your own experience, like there's just trade-offs like with everything, right? Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Duolingo was unhinged.
It
When
was,
people were moving to Red Note, they were out there giving all the Americans Chinese lessons. I'm dead. Wait, I'm gonna immediately follow them. Nikki said, I also think they don't want to be told what to do by people who haven't done it. They want to hear lessons from the trenches. Totally. I mean, that's how I feel when I consume content.
hmm
When anyone's like talking at me, I'm like, the fuck out of here.
Who
If
are
someone's
you?
like talking with me or sharing what they're in or whatever, I'm like captivated. You know, it's like not that difficult. It's just like harder to execute sometimes. So like when you have to change your brain pattern,
Yes.
like when your brain thinks and take I out of it, take I out of it, take I out of it, like you have to like create some new synapses, you know?
Oh my gosh. I literally was creating content last week and I'm like trying to write about business lessons and growing. And I'm like, what lessons am I learning? Like I had to sit there and like really think about me.
Yes, you're like, I have some excavation to do in my own brain here. I get
Yeah, because I could just be like, here's lessons you need to learn, but like, what did I learn this week that I can translate into content? It
yeah.
takes a new neural connection. It takes like just a new thought
Yes.
process.
I think what I really loved about your application, Jackie, and having you on for this too, is I could tell that you were ready to do that too. Like again, we can all go kicking and screaming a little, but you were like, I kind of had my time, I took my space. Like
Hmm.
it is now time to show up like this. And I was just so excited for everyone to like get to see what that looks like. Not to mention, I mean, this is a bit of a selfish lens, I suppose, but like I was picturing our listeners being like well, fuck. If Jackie can do that with two little kids and a husband who's going through addiction, and if she can show up and do that, I certainly fucking can. And I was like, I want that for them. Like, I want
Hmm.
them to be like, oh, it's not actually easier for Jackie. It's actually harder for Jackie in some ways right now. And
Yeah.
she's still doing it. Can I be inspired by that? And not that we have to do easier or harder. Everybody has their own journey. That's not what I mean. But you get me.
Hmm.
Like, I think there is this way where sometimes we look at business owners that like are really far along and seem like they have it all together and it's all perfect. And we're like, must be nice for you. And you're
Hmm.
like, bitch, I was just in the trenches. Trust me, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that easy. I would say like I have more tools in my toolbox to use and like
Yes.
I know when to pull
And
them out
resources, like we talked about.
and
Yep.
resources, but I mean when you're talking about showing up on Instagram, it's really just like can you handle the vulnerability hangover that's about to hit you? And like my answer is that's not the most emotional discomfort I've been in, so like yes.
That's so true. You're like, actually, it's kind of the opposite. This is like by far the
Yeah.
easier path for me, right? Yes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Um, okay, so tell me like if you could give them, you know, a little, I don't know, sneak peek or, like look into what's to come. Like, what do you think has been most influential or important to you in our first few sessions so far?
Oh my gosh. Um First of all, I feel like I'm being introduced as like the next Bachelorette, and I'm so here for it. And you know when they say like upcoming this season on The Bachelorette, sneak peek.
And it's like it flashes all
Yeah.
the scenes and stuff like that. Yes.
I wish I could do that right now. I the most influential. I'm really, really surprised with how different I feel, how quick, because we started 5 sessions ago.
Yep.
In that time, I've decided to fully commit to rebranding my course. I am now showing back up on social media organically, and we restructured my main mastermind offer. Plus, I went and collected a few private clients. Like, so much has happened so fast, but I would say like the sneak peek behind it is you're gonna you're gonna watch my brain like heal from trauma as we talk because as I
Yeah.
go through, you're like, oh, like that might be this thing like coming in from what has happened and what you've been through. And I didn't think I realized how much it was impacting my business decisions. And now that I can see it, it's still there. And I know how to like work with it a little bit better. So it's almost like sneak peek if so fun. If you've gone through trauma, like here's how to integrate it into your business.
No, it's so true though, because one, like who fucking hasn't to a certain extent. Two, I
Yeah.
think we're in a bit of collective trauma, if we're being
Yeah.
honest, right? And three, like nothing that you're doing in your business happens in a vacuum. No matter what your shit is or what your thing is, like you're not a different person here than you are here, no matter how much we would all like that to be true, right? And so I think what you're saying is so beautiful is like it again, it's like that difference almost where it's like it used to be like take yourself out of it. And now we're like, put yourself in it. And so when we're acknowledging, like, you are in your business, the Jackie that is dealing with this is also the Jackie that's writing her content,
Hmm.
like, merge them together. Like, there is going to be a lot of shit that comes up there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that integration is so good. Like that's I want everyone if they were to listen and find just a piece of that for themselves, like that would be worth it because when you're walking around feeling whole, safe and like able to show up in your life and in your business, like that is it's such a good place to be. It's such a nice feeling.
Yeah. It's also really helpful too, because I think like it's also one we can take for granted if we've had it for too long.
Hmm.
So either way, it's a helpful reflection. It's either like, hey, let's get you more of this integration, or it's like, hey, let's appreciate what's there. Because if you're feeling that, it's pretty next level to be able to have that in your business. So like let's acknowledge that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you do such a good job of that. Like I'm projecting maybe, I don't know, but like the way that you build your business with private clients, like to me that just feels like it's personal integration. It's not integration with like what you think should be happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like it just feels when you're building the business that you want to build, it's next level.
Oh my God, it's so true. It is like it's the same thing about the secrets keep you sick thing, right? It's like when I was like trying to force myself into like launching programs and that's just like not aligned to like who I am or how I operate. It's like that's hard business. Just like for someone else, like I'm thinking of one of my clients, if they had to step in, she tells me this all the time. She's like, if I had to run your business, I would literally die. Um, but like it's just that it's like not trying to pretend you're someone different or not hiding the secret that you actually hate serving all these people or you actually hate one-on-one clients or whatever. You're like, no, I'm just gonna like do what I like to do, and then we can like all be on the same page about that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, that brings it full circle. Like, if you're not trying to hide anything, that you hate your format, your
Yeah.
structure, your personal life, then like that's when it feels good.
It all gets good. Amazing. Okay. Well, we have so much to come for you. We didn't really talk about it today because we talked about it in our intro episode, but like Jackie and I go into kind of like why we decided to do this. I've shared a bit about why I picked her here, but there is like this whole other piece of that story there. We talk a lot more about like your business, your life, where you're at. And then obviously we get into session one. So that's coming to you guys next week. I cannot believe we're finally here. How are you feeling about it launching next week? Let's kind of end with that.
Excited, nervous, butterflies. I love that you record it first and then launch it because I have time to process like what's going to be out there. And at the same time, it feels like, oh, like this is what I've been waiting on. Like the it's airing, it's going out
Yes.
there. And I can't wait to like have people listen and connect with people and just like kind of see what life it takes on now.
Yeah. So that is a good place to make note of too as we wrap up is like, can you tell them how they can connect with you? And like, are you open to people reaching out? Like if they listen, do you want DMs? Do you not? Like what feels good for you there? Because I think that's helpful for people to know.
Totally. Yes, DM me. I'm on Instagram for one more month as the business of yoga, but that's changing.
Yeah.
So get it
Stay
while you
tuned.
can.
Well, you're still gonna be on Instagram, but the name is
Name is changing.
changing.
And I we mentioned this in the episode, but I'm very practiced with boundaries these days. So if you message me and I don't respond, I will get back to you eventually.
Yes, nailing the boundaries. This is like our boundaries queen now. So, okay, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. This was so fun, and it just
Yeah.
fun to get to listen. So, thank you guys for being here. Go send Jackie some love, and I'll see you guys next week, and you'll get to listen to this girl. All
Thank you. All
right, bye,
right.
y'all.